Hussain alayhi salam is a lesson for us, and yesterday we spoke about the importance of history. And very briefly, I will summarize that the reason why we continuously hold on to certain historical situations or circumstances, we place two categories: either one group in history or a historical event doesn't contribute to our jurisprudence, does not contribute to our Islamic theology. This is a certain piece or an event that took place in history that can remain in history. But when you have an event that through this event it shapes your entire ideology, that through this event it shapes your entire jurisprudence, then you cannot say that this is history and must remain in history. And the event of Karbala is the one that falls in the second category. That this event has a strong relationship with the core fundamental beliefs of Islam. And I mentioned verses for that yesterday for the brothers that would like to watch. It's available on the Blessed Center's YouTube. Today, we want to speak about a very crucial concept that is mentioned in the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And this stems from a narration or numerous narrations, a plethora of narrations, speaking about different situations and different circumstances, but have one goal, and that is the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussain. In what way do I intend to speak about the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussain? I intend to rely upon the group of narrations that say that whomever visits al-Hussain knowing of his right, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordains for him paradise. Whomever visits al-Hussain on the day of Arafah and knows his right, then Allah will look at him before he looks at his visitors in Arafah. من زار الحسين عارفا بحقه فله الجنة. If you understand al-Hussain. So inshallah tonight I want to speak about what is من زار الحسين عارفا بحقه. That whomever visits al-Hussain and knows the right of al-Hussain. So that inshallah the next time our brothers and sisters that attend the shrine of Imam al-Hussain, they are able to level up their rank by knowing the right of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. In the end, we are all students of knowledge. And it's great to learn something new. It's great to excel. The same way you go to university, you finish high school, you go to university, and then you go for your master's and your PhD. It's good to always level up. The same thing in a religion. There is a very, very important question before we get into the first part. I want to complete yesterday's lecture towards the end. That Al-Hussain is a lesson and a tea. There is a question that someone might ask us. Imam al-Hussain has passed. Why is it that we don't come together to celebrate the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussain? Because in the end, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam became a martyr, and a martyr in the eyes of Allah has a very high status. We should be happy and proud that al-Hussain achieved this status. This question, my brothers and sisters, needs to be responded to in a very wise way. And one of the greatest or the most beautiful explanations that I had read in relation to the response to this question was by Ayatollah Misbah, who is in the land of Iran. He is one of the scholars that witnessed the time that we are currently living in. And he responds to this. He says that when people come and say, why is it that we don't celebrate the death of Al-Hussein? Why do we have to mourn? He says that the event of Ashura is an event that changed the entirety of Islamic history. The war that Imam al-Hussein participated in was a war that embedded in the people a stand of courage and bravery. Therefore, simply holding ceremonies of joy isn't enough. There is also a need to hold ceremonies of sadness, ceremonies of remembrance, of mourning. When someone passes away, why is it that we don't celebrate that our mothers or fathers passed away? We all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all loving, is all caring. He has granted those that believe in Him paradise. Why is it that we don't celebrate the death of our loved ones? It is because there are certain connections that we have with them. There are certain reasons why I can't, for example, neglect the fact that my mother passed away. I have to mourn her. Because her raising me left a message in me. My father raising me and passing away left or resulted in me becoming the man that I am. Also, when you have sadness instilled within you, it is a motivating factor for you to stand up and become the greater person that you are. Why is it that people, for example, don't celebrate failure? In the end, it was an experience and you learned that this experience won't work. They asked the person that made the light bulb. I don't know how accurate the story is, but everything that you read on social media is a lesson. He says that I learned 1,000 ways that there are 1,000 ways that a light bulb won't work. But I know the way that the light bulb will work. There are certain lessons, my brothers and sisters. The reason why we don't celebrate failure is because if you celebrate failure, this instills within you a dopamine effect, and a dopamine effect will mean that you are entering into a state of joy and are happy. And if you are happy by failing, you'll never try again. We say, that's it, I got the dopamine effect, there is no need to try again. Whereas if you have sadness instilled within you, this is a motivating factor to pursue, to continue, to go, to fight, and prove to yourself that I can do this. This is one of the lessons of Ashura. That nonetheless, put on the side the plethora of narrations that say we need to mourn Al-Hussein. These are enough. There is no need for us to rationalize the concept of being in a state of grief when it comes to Al-Hussein. This is something that is required from us, whether we like it or not. But I'm trying to bring the example as close to home as I can, as close as possible to us. If we simply came to celebrate the death of Al-Hussein alayhi salam, this wouldn't remain within us. The birth of Imam al-Hussein, for example, comes. Not many people attend the birth of Imam al-Hussein. But when the death of Al-Hussein comes, you see millions come. Therefore, the death of Al-Hussein is an igniting factor. That's why we don't celebrate the death of Al-Hussein. Because Al-Hussein, his death is what revived the Islamic message. Al-Hussein's birth and the Imams alayhim salam, their births maintained that message. But the death of Al-Hussein is what left you and I today understanding who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And inshallah I will go into a deeper sense of what that means inshallah towards the end of my lecture. It was narrated that one day Ibn Sinan enters upon Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. And Imam al-Sadiq said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam turned around to al-Hussain and said to him while al-Hussain was walking, he said, "Come, O my grandson, and sit in my lap." So Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam comes and sits in the lap of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And then Rasulullah said that the killing of al-Hussain has placed a flame in the hearts of the believers that will never cool down. The greatest way, my brothers and sisters, for us to understand, are we believers? Are we from those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala counts them as being believers? Rasulullah says that if in your heart you feel that there is a burning flame for the tragedy of al-Hussain, then understand that you are a believer. Your belief stems from your connection to the event that befell Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. Your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes apparent when you grieve over Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. And this is a narration that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam says. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. In relation to عارفا بحقه, knowing of his right. Every action, and I mentioned this in the holy month of Ramadan, every action we do, my brothers and sisters, needs an intention. Every action that you do, if you were to fast without an intention, your fast isn't counted. If you were to pray without an intention, your prayer isn't counted. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, through many paraphrasing narrations and verses in the Holy Quran, work on your heart. Work on the relationship that you have with your heart. Because you have the ability to control your heart. And that's why when I mentioned yesterday, if you sit in a gathering that is filled with darkness, your heart becomes dark. And then the truth becomes foggy. You are unable to know the truth. This topic of ma'rifah is extremely important, my brothers and sisters. Because through our narration that we have, through logic, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worshipped. Through your logic, Allah is worshipped. Through your emotions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worshipped. But my logic needs to understand that there is a concept called ma'rifah, knowing who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And that's why in many verses Allah sends a wake-up call. He says, I gave you your ears, your eyes, your senses, everything that you have. But you don't thank me. I gave you all of this, but you don't thank me. As a wake-up call, He says, I am reminding you that I gave you all of this. So thank me, so that I can give you more. You want more, you thank me for what I have given you. If I understand this concept, that everything that I have comes from Allah, everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me is from within His blessings bestowed upon me. It's not obligatory upon Him to give me all of this. That's why, inshallah, I will explain this concept on one of the nights where I speak about the scales of life. But a quick glimpse. When Allah gives us something and then He takes it away from us, we perceive this. When Allah gives me something, I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallah, Allah doesn't leave me alone. He gave me 1, 2, and 3. But the moment it gets wrecked, or the moment Allah takes this back away from you, Wallah, Allah oppressed me. You know, Allah sent me through this difficulty. Where is the loving, the merciful Lord? You see, when our scales in life do not align with the principles that should be instilled within us, any calamity that befalls us, immediately we go and we begin to question the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Noah says to his people, come and board the ark, how did the people react? If you look at the opening verses in Surah Nuh and try to live it in today's society, my brothers and sisters. If someone can get me a Quran, if possible, please. And open it up to Surah Nuh. I believe it's Surah number 74 in the Holy Quran. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I've memorized most of the verse. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna arsalna Nuhan ila qawmihi an anzir qawmaka min qabl an ya'tiyahum adhabun alim. Towards the end of the Quran, my brother. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's going to take a lot of time to bring it up. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to say is that He is trying to give us an example through the people of Noah. Ahsant, brother Mateen. May Allah bless you and bless your family, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna arsalna Nuhan ila qawmihi an anzir qawmaka min qabli an ya'tiyahum adhabun alim. Qala ya qawm inni lakum nadhirun mubin. Surely we sent Noah to his people, saying, warn your people before there comes upon them a painful punishment. He said, O people, surely I am a plain warner to you. أَنْ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاتَّقُوهُ وَأَطِيعُونَ, that you should serve Allah and be careful of your duty to Him. يَغْفِرْ لَكُم مِّن ذُنُوبِكُم, He forgives for you your sins. This isn't the point that I want. This point is what I want to mention. قال رب إني دعوت قومي ليلا ونهارا. Oh Allah, I called my people day and night. فلم يزدهم دعائي إلا فرارا. Every time I would call them to come, they would run away. وإني كل ما دعوتهم لتغفر لهم جعلوا أصابعهم في آذانهم واستغشوا ثيابهم وأصروا واستكبروا استكبارا. This is the point that I want to get to. And whenever I called them for you to forgive them, O Allah, they placed their fingers in their ears and they wrapped themselves in their garments, like they covered their heads away from me. And they were persistent with their pride. When Hussain alayhi salam comes to the people and Allah describes, and Rasulullah describes Hussain as being the ark to salvation, have we today in our society with the ark of Imam al-Mahdi, have we answered Imam al-Mahdi the same way that the people of Noah answered Noah? Every time someone comes to speak to us, every time a scholar comes to give us advice, we place our hands in our ears and we wrap our heads with our garments and we continue living the life we live. What lesson do I then learn from Hussain? If I continue my life cycle like that. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, in order for us to know the right of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, I need to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created me and requires my heart to be connected with Him. In the end, when Allah creates you, He creates you out of His love and out of His mercy. The narration says that the supplicator that supplicates to Allah, the person that cries out to Allah, but does not act upon certain things that he needs to act upon, it is like the person that is aiming to go archery, he's trying to shoot the arrow, but that elastic, whatever they call it, the elastic band that throws the arrow isn't present. What the narration is trying to say, if you simply make dua to Allah, oh Allah, make me from those that know Al-Hussein, for example, but I don't act upon that, I don't open up a book, I don't try to read about Al-Hussein, then Rasulullah describes it, or describes this circumstance as if the one is trying to shoot an arrow, but the elastic band that penetrates the arrow isn't present, which means it's useless. Ma'rifah. I need to research, I need to understand who Al-Hussein is. And that's why, my brothers and sisters, try to read as much as you can about Al-Hussein. Do you know that on the first night in your grave, what will take place with you? Do you know that when you reach the second realm that comes after this world, Alamul Barzakh, do you know the status of Imam Al-Hussein in that world? You see, we need to read. Imam Al-Hussein isn't simply 10 days of Muharram and then we go back to what we were doing previously. Imam Al-Hussein, alayhi salam, as we mentioned yesterday, is the ark of salvation. Through him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves you. That's why Imam Al-Baqir alayhi salam says, no action is accepted except through ma'rifah, except through knowing. And no ma'rifah is achieved except through action. Is it enough for me to say that I love Allah? I love Allah so much that I sleep in and I don't even pray Salatul Fajr. From how much I love Allah, I don't pray. From how much I love Allah, I don't fast. Is that enough? No. Imam Al-Baqir says that the one that has knowing, that has ma'rifah, is someone that acts upon it. Because we all know, for example, that participating in certain things is haram, but we continuously do it. We all know that certain things we shouldn't participate in, but we still do it. We know it's wrong, but we still do it. Because the action, I know it's wrong, I need to implement that in my life. There was a very beautiful story. One day there was the father of one of the current jurists in the holy land of Karbala was one day riding a bus. And in the bus driver in Iran back then was playing music in the bus. So then one of the brothers in the back of the bus screamed out to the bus driver, turn off the music, the Sayyid over here doesn't like to listen to music. So then the Sayyid stood up and says, no, I like to listen to music, but Allah doesn't like me to listen to music. That's why I don't like to listen to music. That's why I don't listen to music. We have certain tendencies, for example. We like to listen to music. We like to, for example, look at certain things. Even though we like it, we should understand that Allah doesn't like it. There is this analogy. You have a child that is at home. The child goes to the kitchen, grabs a knife, and starts playing around with it at home. The child looks at the knife as a toy, cannot comprehend or cannot perceive the fact that if I was to hold this knife and I fell down, this knife will stab me and I could possibly die. The child doesn't know that. But the parents know that if I keep the knife in my child's hand, either he will hurt himself, he will kill himself, or hurt someone else. The child has no clue. And the moment you come to take the knife away from your child's hand, the child begins to scream and cry and he thinks that you are the worst person that God created. You're trying to save your child, but he thinks that no, my parents are trying to sabotage my fun. This is how we are with Allah. When he says to you that don't go near this is bad. No, Allah wants us to be, those priests that can never get married and living in the mountains and worshipping Him 24/7. No. One day a woman comes up to Imam al-Sadiq. She says to him, O son of Rasulullah, I am someone that will never get married. He says to her, why? She says, because I want to be there to worship Allah, and if I get married, I have to serve my husband, I have to serve my children, I have to make food, I have to clean the house. I don't want this. I want to worship Allah 24/7. So Imam al-Sadiq turns around and says that if there was any good in doing this, then Lady Maryam would have done it, the mother of Prophet Jesus. Then she would have done it. Don't convince yourself that, for example, if I was to go to work, then that means I can't worship Allah. If I was to get married, that means I can't worship Allah. I just want to worship Allah. No, that doesn't work. Allah says, have fun, enjoy yourself, go out, buy things, enjoy your life. But understand that there is a line. Don't cross that line. Who says you can't go traveling around the world? Travel. Take your family out. Eat in restaurants. Halal restaurants, of course. Do whatever you want. But in halal. Inshallah ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. My brothers and sisters, there are levels of ma'rifah. There are levels of knowing Allah. There are levels of knowing your Imams, alayhim as-salam. One narration, the Imam alayhi salam Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The Imam alayhi salam states that there are levels to ma'rifah. Imam al-Baqir says, know the status of our Shia based on the amount of narrations they narrate and their knowings of our hadiths. If I want to understand what my level of ma'rifah is, according to Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, I need to have two things. The amount of narrations that I narrate, and the second one is to know their sayings. What does it mean to know their sayings? The narration says that one hadith, one narration that you comprehend is better than 1,000 narrations that you have memorized. What the Imam is trying to say is we want quality, not quantity. The quality, if I know one narration and I implement this narration in my life, this one narration is better than me memorizing 1,000 narrations. That's how you level up your ma'rifah. And then you start to research about the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. To the important point, my brothers and sisters, the right of Imam al-Hussain, عارفا بحقه. What does this mean, عارفا بحقه? What is the right of Imam al-Hussain? The right of Imam al-Hussain, my brothers and sisters, is divided up into two categories. المعرفة العامة والمعرفة الخاصة. There is an exclusive right for Imam al-Hussain and there is a general right for Imam al-Hussain. The general right is to know, number one, that he is an Imam. The first thing that you need to know when it comes to benefiting from your status in elevating your status when it comes to Imam al-Hussain and visiting Imam al-Hussain, the first thing is to know that he is your Imam. And that obeying him is obligatory upon me. And that's why when you know that he is an Imam from Allah, then you are able to embark his ark. The second one is more in depth. The exclusive right of Al-Hussain. Number one, the narration says, أن تعرف بأن له ما لرسول الله إلا النبوة. That Al-Hussain from within his exclusive rights is that everything that Allah gave Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam belongs to Imam al-Hussein except prophethood. And Rasulullah beautifully explains this in one narration. Al-Hussein minni wa ana min Hussein. That Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. When we come to read this one narration, we say, yes, he is the son of the daughter of Rasulullah. So the grandfather is saying that my grandson is a part of me. No, it is far deeper than that. The narration in Kamil al-Ziyarat says that everything that Allah ordained for Rasulullah, every right that Allah gave Rasulullah, every blessing that Allah gave Rasulullah, He also gave it to Al-Hussein, except prophethood. Prophethood was the only thing that was not passed down after Rasulullah. He was the seal of the prophets. Khatimul Anbiya'i Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. From within the exclusive rights, my brothers and sisters, in order for me to become from those that are arifina bihaqq al-Hussein, the ones that know the right of Imam al-Hussein, I have mentioned 3 points that our grand scholars have brought out. Number 1 is to know that Imam al-Hussein has a right upon all of the creation. Every creation that Allah created, Imam al-Hussein has a right upon them. In the sense, through them, meaning the Ahlul Bayt, that through them, all the blessings of Allah befall you. Number 2, my brothers and sisters, you must be vocal when it comes to speaking about Imam al-Hussein. If you want to be counted from those that know the right of Imam al-Hussein in the society that you live in, you go out and you speak about al-Hussein. You try to spread the name of al-Hussein. The gatherings of al-Hussein, you make them bigger than anything in your life. Number 3, you magnify the cause of Imam al-Hussein. Not only do you support it, you magnify the cause of Imam al-Hussein. How do I magnify the cause of Imam al-Hussein? I contribute to my center. I donate to my center. I help my center. I support my center. I support everyone who calls in the name of al-Hussein. That's how I become from those that know the right of al-Hussein. I magnify the status of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. How much time do I have left? Inshallah tomorrow, every time I plan to speak about something, I leave it to the next day. Inshallah tomorrow. Tomorrow's introduction will be the one line that we recite. This is all an introduction, my brothers and sisters. These aren't my lectures that I will be speaking about for the remaining 7 nights. I need to first paint to you a picture of the understanding of al-Hussein. That's why these last 2 lectures have been very, very, as you would say, it's like schoolwork, very detailed. But inshallah, after tomorrow night, I will leave the topics of aqa'id, ideology, as I've already used these 2 nights, yesterday and today, to mention it, from, today is Tuesday, is it? From Thursday night, inshallah, I will begin speaking about societal issues and how we can build our society, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those that are steadfast. And I forgot to mention what the introduction for tomorrow is. The introduction for tomorrow's lecture is understanding the one sentence, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wa ajjil farajahum. وصلى الله على محمد وأهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين.